Good. Okay, I forgot to give charity. So here we go. Let us start off the day to give charity. And of course, that we already started off the day. So here we have a lesson. It is never too late to do good things. So let us take our coin and we are take our charity box and take our hand and give what we have to others. Ideally, eventually all this money is given to charity. Okay, charity. Charity saves from death. Charity. You have any requests to make from God? The Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe said every room in your house should have a charity box. And it's best if the charity box was part of the room. Attach it to the wall. You don't lose it, don't move it around. Excuse me. And charity, and if you ever want to request something from God, no matter what, you want to request something from God, first of all, think it over if that's what you really want. And then if you do, then give charity and say, God, I'm giving charity on the condition that you listen to my prayers. You can do that. And why? Because it says if a Jew gives charity on the condition that God listens to my prayers and God doesn't listen to your prayer. So a Jew says, well, at least I give charity. Okay, let's go. So yesterday yesterday we learned that Noah, this Torah portion of Noah that we're learning this week, is preceded by 6 weekdays. This Shabbat, which is not the case. Our Torah reading last Shabbat, which was Breshit, was not preceded by 6 regular days. Just a few days before Shabbat Breshit, we had the holiday of Simchat Torah. Holiday. So this coming Shabbat is the first Shabbat of the year, and this happens every year. This first Shabbat of the year that is preceded by 6 regular working days. And it comes to teach us a very big lesson, because the Torah is the blueprint for the world. And so the Torah, whatever is mentioned in the Torah, whatever coincidences seem to occur, which day of the week it happens, and which the date of the week, and which Torah portion is read, this is a very important message for what we're supposed to do in the world. That's why the Jewish people are here, like we just finished learning, to fix up the world. So what's our message? Our message is like this. There's 2 ways of looking at the world. One way of looking at the world is from what God did. And another way of looking at the world is what we're supposed to do. What we're supposed to do. God did a pretty good job. He created the world, in 6 days. On the 7th day, he rested. So God made a world, perfect world, wonderful world. It says in the end, he made the world that was tov me'od. So everything he did, it was very good. Right before Shabbat, everything was very good. That's what God did. But therefore, that was hinted at, that was by last week's Torah portion, which we learned about the creation of the world, Breshit. It was not preceded by 6 weekdays, working days. It was preceded just by a couple of days, because before that it was Simchat Torah. Okay, but this week's Torah portion is talking about what we're supposed to do with the world. God created the world was perfect and ready to be fixed up. All the ingredients were there that man could start working in the world. Noah is showing us that it's possible. Noah is showing that the world can give God pleasure. The world. So if so, Breshit is talking about how looking at the world from above the world, namely the world, how it was created by means of God. That's the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. And why? What's the point of Noah? That we should be in this world, which this world is created from the name Elohim. It says 32 times in the story of creation, the name Elohim doesn't mention the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. Until now, in this world, the job of Noah is to reveal that this world is really made from God's essence. How important this physical world really is. Shagama Tzimtzum, that all the concealment of this world really essentially comes from God's essence, which means me and you and everything that happened to us. Excuse me. By means of this, by us serving, thinking about God, the Creator, in everything we do, and being aware, and at least reminding ourselves that everything is being created by God, and we can't understand anything, but everything is good, essentially. But we have to just defy our urges to make mistakes, to get angry, to get depressed, to get whatever it is, defy those urges, and yes, to do good in the world, to be positive. That by means of this reveals the name of God, that it comes into the world, which is created by the name of Elohim. And then it will be revealed what we said on Yom Kippur. Right at the end of the prayers of Yom Kippur, we say 7 times, Hashem Hu Elohim, God, Yud Kei Vav Kei. He is really, that's the real essence of this physical world. This physical world is just a garment for the essence of God. That's what we say on Yom Kippur. So we look at this physical world, and everything we see in the world is a miracle. And it's calling to us. Reveal the miracle. Reveal. Tell other people. Don't be selfish. Don't let the world be a good example to others. Don't let the world affect you negatively, but you have to affect the world positively. How? By means of your attitude. That's what Noah did. That's what Noah did. To reveal that there's a creator, and the creator cares about everything. The creator is good. To reveal that in the world, that's what Noah did. That's all. It's not a story about Noah. What we're supposed to do, we can say that this whole idea that the world was created with the name Elohim, and in this world we reveal the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. This is also hinted at the content, the theme of Noah regarding the covenant that God made with the world. Lo yishbotu, the covenant that God put a rainbow in the sky. Now here we got a really weird story, right? There's two, excuse me. There's two outstanding examples of God making a covenant. A covenant. I don't know if there's any word exactly to really describe what a brit is in English. A brit, but I guess a covenant is the best word. Covenant, even though nobody makes a covenant, right? Hey, what were you doing just yesterday? Oh, I made a covenant. What does that look like? How do you have a picture of the covenant? What do you mean? Right, the covenant. And what is the word covenant? So what a brit really means is an eternal unity, an eternal promise. Ideally, a brit means two people make a covenant with one another. I will always be loyal to you. You'll always be loyal to me, no matter what happens. But if I find out that you cheated and you lied and you're my enemy, but we made a covenant. And so therefore the covenant says that despite whatever happens, we're always going to be friends, one, unified, just like we are right now. Anything that happens in the interim, I ignore. Any negative things that happen, I ignore. Only a brit means eternal covenant, eternal love, if you want to call it. So it's called that eternal love covenant. That nothing is going to disturb. That's a brit. It's not just an agreement. It's not just a promise. It's a soul unification. I am unified with someone else. We make a brit. So there's 2 times that God made a brit. The first time he did it was with Noah, and he made a brit, a covenant with the world, with the whole world. God made a covenant with the world and said, I'm not going to destroy the world anymore. Not by any means. The world, I'm never going to make another destruction like I did with the flood. Never going to happen. That's separate. No matter what the world does, even if the whole world becomes woke, God forbid, whatever, goes berserk like they did in before the flood, I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to. That's a covenant. I'm always going to have love for the world, said God. The other covenant, of course, was shortly thereafter with Abraham, right? Abraham, but a couple hundred years later, with Abraham, that God made a covenant with him and said, the Jewish people I'm always going to love, no matter what they do. And they're going to do some terrible, disappointing things. God said, I know it, but I'm making a covenant, and this covenant is unending, eternal love. Okay. So it says, this whole idea that the world was created by the name Elohim, but nevertheless we can reveal in it the name of Yud Ke Vav Ke, the essence, this is the covenant that God made with the Jew, with the world. Lo Yishbotu, that the world will never stop. There's going to be summer, winter. There's not going to be any black holes that are going to suck up the world, or any massive comets that are going to, burst everything apart, or it's going to get too cold in the world. It's going to get too hot in the world, like global warming, global freezing. It's not going to be any of those things. I remember when I was young, there was this thing about global freezing. The world is freezing, right? The sun is going to run out of whatever it is, of electricity or something like that. Didn't pay its bills, and the world's going to freeze. It was going to freeze over. There's a poem. You ever heard the poem Fire and Ice by Robert Frost? Ever what am I getting for? Some say the world will end with fire. Some say with ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But from what I've seen of hate, I know that ice is also great and would suffice. Oh, that's pretty beautiful. He was a very depressed man, but he wrote beautiful poetry. Robert Frost. World of the world, how is the world? So the Rebbe says, forget it. The world is not going to end in fire, and it's not going to end in ice. Not going to fight another. How is the world going to end? It's not going to end. The world is not going to end. It's going to be eternal. Lo yishbotu, said God. Like we explained that the conduct of the world in a constant way, that nothing changes and nothing alters, like the sun and the moon and the stars and all of the stars and the stars and all the planets, how they're always going around, is Nikar and Migala. This reveals the Ein Sof, the infinite power of God, which is, I don't want to make all these interruptions, but I will. There's this whole big question about, what is exactly between the earth and the sun and everything. What's in between all these planets? So they came out with this idea that there's an ether. There's some sort of an ether. Got to be something. The ether that's moving, And so they tried to detect the ether. They figured if the earth is moving, so they should move something, and there should be some ether. So they detected, and they discovered there is no ether. There's no ether because there's no movement. But the fact of the matter is that the earth does not move. It doesn't move. The earth stands still, and the rest of the world moves. All science says differently. Says, yeah, but there's no proof one way or the other because everything is relative to everything else. So if you go and say that the earth doesn't move, so then don't look around in the earth for traces of ether moving, because it's not going to move. The earth doesn't move to the world. In any case, whatever the thing is, the fact of the matter is that the whole business of the stars and the movement of the stars and this, so some people say that the world is 1,000,000 years old. Some people say it's 1,000,000,000 years old. Some people say it's 1,000,000,000,000 years old. Some people say 1,000,000,000,000 years old. What are you, nuts? It's 10 trillion years old. The person says it's 25 quadrillion years old. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Another person says it's not. So all these people are estimating how old the world is. But this really testifies. Let's say the world really is 10 quadrillion years old, which means that the laws of nature have been in effect for 25 quadrillion years. That's a lot, right? That's a testimony that there's something going on over here that we don't understand. It's some sort of a power that's above us. That all this time the earth has been going around the sun, or the sun is going around the earth, or whatever has been spinning around, but the laws of nature have not changed for millions of years. That's pretty amazing. That's amazing, isn't it? says this testifies to the power of Ein Sof, an infinite power, which is always making these things move around. Since that the world is limited, so that things should change, that they should wear down or something like that. I am God, I never changed. I am God. It says no, but it comes from I am God, Yud Ke Vav Ke. And that's revealing something infinite in the world. Or in simple language, people are finite. They only live for a certain amount of time, right? But if we show that no, that every instant is infinite, it's being created by the infinite God. So it comes out that life is not finite. It's just a series of infinite points, infinite moments. that it stops. That's another miracle. How it stops. It says it really doesn't stop. There's going to be the raising of the dead. But the point is to reveal that every instant of life is really infinite, infinitely meaningful, infinitely real, infinitely valuable, infinite. Huh? That's what means revealing the Yud Ke Vav Ke, the essence of God in this physical world. That was the rainbow. God put the rainbow in the clouds, it said, and he showed after the flood. At Keshet, this rainbow is me, mishtakfut, karni hashemesh be'anan. God put a rainbow in the sky. Now, a rainbow is a very natural thing. It's pretty amazing, a rainbow. But on the other hand, it is a purely, totally natural, how do you say, it is explainable, explainable the aspect of nature, right? When light shines through some sort of a transparent object or whatever, like a prism or something like that, so it breaks up into its composite colors. It's a natural process, phenomena. When the sun shines, so it's nothing got to do with God. It shines. It's a natural thing. When the sun shines through this, Hainu Shigama Anan. It says, what happens really? What happens? It says there has to be clouds in the sky. There has to be vapor in the sky, and then there shines through. Namely, that the cloud itself that comes up from the earth. Where do clouds come from, by the way? The clouds don't come from heaven. Rain doesn't come from heaven. Rain doesn't come from heaven. Rain comes from the earth. Rain comes from evaporation. Right? That's why places, I don't know, I've never really experienced this, but as far as I know, when they make cities like they made in Nevada, they make a couple of false cities and they bring water there. As far as I know, it just changes the whole entire, system, and there starts rain over there and everything. As far as I know, I have to look it up. But in any case, rain comes from the evaporation of water from the earth. That's where rain comes from. There's no rain in the desert, not because the desert is there because there's no rain. Exactly the opposite. There's no rain because there's no water. It's a desert. There's no evaporation. But also, the cloud comes from the earth. Eidi alemin oretz. It comes from mezuchach, that even the clouds in the sky become so refined that sunlight can permeate them. That's the whole idea, that the physical world, which is something like a cloud that covers over, it can become refined to the point that sun, which is the sun, because the light of God, it says Shemesh Hashem, that the light of Yud Ke Vav Ke, the essence of God, can shine through into the world. So there's the world and there's godliness, and the rainbow shows that the world, the physicality of the world, can be permeated by the oneness of God. Shekiyam Olam, the whole world exists al yedei keshet, because of this rainbow. The rainbow is what keeps the world going. How could that be? It says, Zot ot brit, this is the covenant that I am making between me and all flesh in the world. Shebezeh rumas, this hints, shemetziuta shakol basar, that the existence of all humanity that is on the world, nikar umidgala, is recognized and revealed, will be revealed, the koach hapoel, the power of the Creator, shemechaya uma'aveoto, that enlivens and creates it. You are being created by God. I am being created by God. If you're watching a screen, the screen is being created. Everything is being created by God. Do you feel it? No. Do I feel it? I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about. What are you supposed to feel when you feel that God is creating the world? You're supposed to think about it. Be aware. Be aware. Be aware that it's a miracle. It's a constant miracle. Everything in the world is a miracle, and everything in the world is being created by God, and everything in the world has a purpose because God is creating it. He doesn't have to create it. So that's what it means, revealing the essence of God in the creation of God. Shehu, that's the name of Yud Ke Vav Ke. That reveals the same thing as what's the rainbow? That sunlight can permeate the clouds. The clouds hide the sun, and the rainbow shows that sunlight can permeate the clouds. It's the same thing as us serving God in this world. Shows that godliness can permeate the physical world. It can shine. The shame until the name Yud Ke Vav Ke, the essence name of God, which is totally above the world. The name Yud Ke Vav Ke, the name of God, and this has all the aspects of past, present, and future, all the letters of past, present, and future all together. This is the essence name of God. Ad until the koach ha'atzmus, to the power of God's essence, which creates everything, nothing from nothing to be something. In other words, the fact that God is creating us is concealed. Why God is creating us is even more concealed. The ability of God to create us, that's even more concealed. So that comes from the essence of God. If so, this whole world is being created from absolute nothingness to being something constantly by God. Everything has a purpose to it. God, mehuto v'atzmuto, God, the essence of the creator, shemetziuto u'miatzmuto, that God's being comes from his own essence, so to speak. The Einu Alul, God is not a result from some sort of a cause before him. Right? Like the how do you say, the age-old question, which is asked in what are high schools or grade schools. God created the world. Who created God? Who created God? So the question is a good question. The question is a good question. What's the answer to the question? The question is, you can never understand it. You can never possibly understand it. There's no way of possibly understanding how good and how real God is. Can't understand it. It's not within the realm of definition, but it's a fact. We're being created, and God is so infinitely, 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 infinitely good and infinitely, infinitely real that we can't possibly grasp it, but he's creating us. We're not being created by accident. We're being created by a God who's infinitely good. To reveal a little bit of this in the world, that's the rainbow, that the world is important to God. God's essence. Because God's existence is true existence. So we can add on, therefore, the service, that how is this revealed in the world? By us doing work. That's Noah, what we do. How this world, after we work in it, is better than it was when God created it. This is hinted at next week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha. Next week's Torah portion begins, we start to read in Mincha of this coming Shabbat, Parshas Noah, and the end of the 7 days, the 7 days of the week, Hekef, the cycle of the week, of the first week in the world. How do we go? First week is God creating the world. Second week is that the world is essentially good. Third week, that's why the rainbow is there. The world is essentially eternal. God can be revealed here. The third week, next week, is talking about Abraham. God says to Abraham, go to yourself, Lech Lecha. This indicates on true going, moving. This is Ein Aruch, incomparable, infinitely more than where you are first. Hakodem. To constantly be moving from who you are. Ad until by Al Yedei Zeh, by means of this, is revealed your true essence. Like it says, Asher Ereka, Next week we'll see. God says, go away from your land, leave your place of birth, go to the land that I will show you. God says, I will show you who you really are. That's what God. The next week's Torah portion, it begins with two words. But God says the most lech lecha, 2 times. Go to yourself. Why go to yourself? I could have said lech, go. Why twice? Because God said, I'm going to show you who you really are. By moving from where you are now and to a higher place. Abraham was a pretty good, he was serving God. He recognized God. God said, that's really nice, but you have to keep moving. The Indian is that by means of serving God, actually, and by serving God, we mean that everything you do, everything you say, everything you think is how can I do something to improve the world? Something. Say a good word, do a good deed, even have good thoughts about people. Sit in your room and think about all the people you know and think about giving them blessings. God bless this person, God bless this person. What about people that are nasty, people that are bad? So think about they should not be nasty. They should change their minds. They should be different people. And they should reveal the true good which is inside of them. Think. Even better, talk. Say good things. Say, even better, do. Do good things. Write a letter. You should always be constantly thinking, how can I improve the world? Getting depressed, does that make the world better? No, if it does, then I'll do it. But it doesn't. What about getting angry once in a while? That makes the world better, right? No, maybe that's what you want to do. I really do, but it doesn't work. What a disappointment, right? Being disappointed makes the world a better place. Maybe being disappointed a little bit, But then afterwards, you have to be positive, dude. That's what it means. Abraham, God said to Abraham, I'm going to show you who you really are. Constantly being improving. The Indian Bazeh, this idea is by means of service, actually. And by the way, if you have trouble doing these things, then pray. Say, God, hey, help me. I have a bad personality. I have a terrible attitude toward the world, right? Everything makes me angry. Everything makes me depressed. I'm not worth anything. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid of everybody. I hate everybody. I hate everything, right? God, help me, change me. And you'll see, amazingly, that it works. It won't be like some sort of a fairy will come from heaven or something and touch you with a magic wand, and suddenly you start, you become bright and light. All your clothes change to be, white or something. It's not exactly like that, but you see gradually, all of a sudden, that the stupid things you do and the unnecessary things, they fall away. They fall away. You'll find yourself, you locked yourself in your house or something like that. You'll find you go out for 2 minutes a week. And you find out you go out 2 minutes a day. Then you find out you go out 2 minutes an hour. You'll find out, you can go out whenever you want. Little by little, you'll see that God is really good and that God really helps us. Really helps us to the point where we can connect ourselves, everything we do, say, feel, will be a positive way to God. It's like by means of serving God, actually, in this physical world, it reveals the true essence of what every Jew is. The Rebbe is writing this to Jews, right? That no matter where you are, no matter what time, no matter who you are, even if you're in the lowest places in the world, Harihu Kashur, you can be attached and united to God. And not only that, but by means of your service in the world, you can actually refine and purify the physical world. You draw down godliness into the world. We can say that by means of this, is naseh inyan halicha, is going also in godliness. Shemitgaleh, you reveal the true inyan of the unity of God. Hashem hu Elohim. You realize that this physical world, Elohim, that's God, it's the lower aspect of God that makes the world, really comes from the essence of God. Shegam Shem Elohim, even the name of God, which is Elohim, which that's connected with just the creation of this mundane, confusing world, really the fact is its true essence is really above the world. And by means of doing everything we said before, in this week's Torah portion is included the work, in this week's Torah portion, Noah, is the whole work of the whole year. the eternal covenant between God and the world, kafi shehu b'poel, as it is actually. That by this week we learn in this week not just what God did, but what we're supposed to do, what Noah did. Learn that we can improve the world. So from that it's understood. Should this Shabbat Noach, is a time which is a good time to make a accounting of yourself. Self-accounting. What's it called? Self-reckoning. Shalavoda b'poel, on the new year. This is a Shabbat making resolutions. All of the details of the 6 days of creation of the day of Shabbat in all of the coming year. Al manat, in order to fix up, or the hashlim, all of the things in the world. Listen, there's a lot of people that they say, I can't do that. My wife is this. Or I don't have any money. Or I don't have any health. Or I can't do this. I can't do. Listen, it could be that what you say is right, but just because you can't do one or two, like there's a fellow in. I learned this from also Professor Viktor Frankl. There's a guy in Kfar Chabad. He had to have one of his legs removed. I don't know. Maybe he had whatever the problem was. So I saw that he was a bit depressed, So I went up to him. I said, I saw your last one of your legs. Yeah. I said, you know what that means? That you won't be able to run marathons and won't be able to compete in the Olympics. He looked at me like that. I said, but everything else you can pretty much do. You can pretty much do everything else. But the Olympics, I'm afraid that's, I see why you feel so bad. You can't compete in the Olympics, man. And he started to laugh. He said, I didn't want to compete in the Olympics. I said, come on, don't make excuses. That's sour grapes. He didn't want to. Said, no, but everything else you can do. One leg, thank God for one leg. So in other words, good, it's true that we're limited. We're human beings. We're limited in things, if you're 50 years old, 60 years old, you're probably not going to be able to run a 4-minute mile. You're probably not going to be able. Okay, but there's other things you can do. And like you said, that sometimes by being put into a place that's darkness, sometimes it comes out light. It comes out very good. There's a country and western song I heard. Thank God for unanswered prayers. Thank God for unanswered prayers. The song is this fellow is in high school. He has a crush on this girl. He really wants to marry her. He is just so enraptured in love with her, and he writes her letters and things like that. And in the end, she marries somebody else. And he was just totally broken. He's thinking about committing suicide. And he just feels so bad and depressed. And he says, that was like 30 years ago. So he got remarried. He got married, and he's walking down the street. This is the song. And he sees his old crush. And he says, wow, thank God for unanswered prayers. I'm so happy I didn't marry this other girl. Or sometimes what we really want, and we really think it's really necessary. Wow, my leg is missing. I'm going to be finished. Says, no, don't worry about it. It is but a scratch. You ever see that? It's not so bad. Don't worry about it. You can find good things to do. Find good things to do. The world is terrible. The world is awful. People sometimes find themselves in terrible, awful situations and doing terrible, awful things. Okay. But nevertheless, from the darkness, you can come out to light. That's the point of this week's Torah portion. From darkness, you can grab on to that eternal covenant that God made with the world, and God will not destroy the world unless you want to destroy yourself. Then God can't stop you. I mean, actually, he can. I read a story about a fellow that he wanted to commit suicide, and he jumped off a bridge, and he broke his back, hit the water, and he wanted to die. And a sea lion, this is a weird story, and a sea lion pushed him up and kept him afloat. Kept him afloat. And they said a helicopter took him out, made operations against his will, and suddenly he realized, maybe I should be alive. And now he's a motivational speaker, whatever it is. So sometimes even if we want to do bad to ourselves, God does big miracles and he takes us out of Egypt. Because the world is eternal, the world is good, but it depends on the Jewish people working. The Jewish people have to do their job. And the job is to transform the world, don't react to the world like the world wants you to. React to the world the way God wants you to. And don't just react to the world, but be proactive. Fix up the world. Yesh Lomo, we can say that making this this reckoning in this week's Torah portion on Shabbat Noach, on the first week of this has to be in a way that is relevant to action. Not just thinking, sitting and thinking, oh, yeah, I'm so lazy, I'm so bad, I'm so terrible, I'm going to change it, I'm going to do it, and not do anything. The main thing is to reveal in this world godliness which is higher than the world. That should be your motivation. You should be the the vessel, the holy temple in the world that carries this godliness in the world. That's what should motivate you. What God says, what God wants, what God thinks, and then the world will be different. Right? God wants you to be in the world. He wants you to have a family. He wants you to work. Well, this whole thing is stressed especially in tshuva. Tshuva. After you make this proper thinking about who am I, and you realize that there's a lot of things that I do and I want and I think that are not okay. You don't say, okay, that's who I am. No. Tshuva. Now I can change. It says, Shuva Yisrael ad Hashem Elokecha. Return Jews until ad Hashem Yudke Vavke, the essence of God becomes your nature. Chatshuva hi ba'ofen, it be in a way, Shahashem Yudke Vavke becomes your nature, that your complete tshuva, your returning of Yom Kippur that you did on Yom Kippur. And when you said 7 times, Hashem Elokim, Hashem Elokim, this will become a reckoning, a self-reckoning, in a way that it'll be even higher and higher and higher. You can increase in fixing yourself up without any end. How can you do this? That we're going to learn tomorrow. We'll learn tomorrow. How we can constantly improve.